I need some good intro music. Hello, boys and girls. Anyway, this is going to be short, but I will post a link here in just a second in case anybody wants to come in. I just found something this morning. I was looking at, I don't know whose channel this is, some insignificant YouTuber, and I spotted Jefferson Spatchcock, and he's always wonderful to check out, but they threw him out within about 30 seconds. And then there's Jay Pasek, who is his twin brother. Those are really the same person, though neither of them will admit it, I think. At least I have that figured out. So anyway, I was just checking that out, and I found this little gem here. Let me see if I can play it for you.
Mm-hmm. And they're so vile. And so one of those groups is like the Troll Patrol from Praise's channel.
Right.
And then the other group is CreepOfSoundOfDepravity and his demonic hyenas.
There it is.
CreepOfSoundOfDepravity and his demonic hyenas. They're so vile, and so they're so vile. And so one of those groups is CreepOfSoundOfDepravity and his demonic hyenas.
That's it. That's the whole clip. I was so excited. CreepOfSoundOfDepravity and his band of demonic hyenas. I couldn't resist. It's definitely the name of our group now. We were called the 5 Horsemen or 6 Horsemen, but we're getting too goddamn many horsemen for that meme. So, CreepOfSoundOfDepravity. I love it. Isn't it awesome? Hyena in the cat or dog kind, exactly. We don't know. Anyway, so yesterday, Nathan and I both extended an olive branch. Nathan Art extended an olive branch to Nicholas, and he chomped it off, and we got it back in pieces with dripping with saliva and beard hairs, and it just, it didn't work. He just came back at us, and I have no idea. But then he did this really wonderful bit of marketing for me, and I was so excited about it. And it's like, and then I realized something. When Nicholas was talking about looking at that, oh yeah, they went on to talk about that goddamn movie again. That is so yesterday. Yeah, we have to get Nathan Art to do some work on this band of demonic hyenas. Anyway, he said he watched this trailer for the movie, and every trailer I've seen for that movie has been way too mild from what he described. So now what I think happened is he actually watched the whole movie in his parents' basement where they have him locked. They throw him scraps of food down there, and he makes YouTube videos and recites Bible verses, and his mom is like, "It's Charlie, will you go down there and shave the beard off that thing before crickets start living in there?" And Charlie's like, no, Henrietta, I ain't going down there. Last time I went down there, he bit my olive branch clear in half. I think so. Anyway, I think that was some wonderful stuff. I got one other thing I can share here. Let's see. Copy to clipboard. I'm going to put the StreamYard link in here. If that stinky snake guy shows up, you guys have to let me know, okay? Because I got to throw him out. Okay, there's a StreamYard link. So anyway, that was it. It's just wonderful. I don't know what. Yeah, they go on to talk about this fucking movie again, and they're coming down on Jefferson Spatchcock because he refuses to condemn it. Anybody who does not condemn their choice of bad movies on Netflix is some sort of a creep of something or another. I think I got 17 minutes left or something as of yesterday. I'm still trying to watch it. Nothing to write home. Yeah, the first 43 minutes, I hear the last 20 minutes are kind of, that's where everybody gets pissed or whatever. So Nicholas must have watched the whole goddamn movie. I just don't believe him. It's Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Hello, I think you're not muted. I think you're here.
Hello.
Hello.
I have returned.
Huh? You have
I have returned.
Returned. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I've returned.
Good. Glad you returned. It's an odd flick to make a stand on. Yes, it is. They could have picked a better flick to get pissed off about. like the two versions of Lolita that came out like 50 years ago and 30 years ago or something like that. I don't know. I'm kind of amazed by these people. And then let's see here if I can share this one. Chroma tab. I'll try that. Chief of Staff Denton. Here we go. I get email from Evolution News, and yeah, I'm gonna shut my cam off. I'm kind of scary to look at, but fucking Nicholas came. That is the greatest. Isn't that the greatest name for our group?
Yeah. I don't know where he came up with that, but
well, he had speed of proud of depravity, which I'm also proud of.
right.
And then he came up with speed. I mean, there's so many things you can do with speed of sound, you know, to make it insulting and stuff. And
Right.
but this one, I mean, I don't know if you realize it or not, but we're not exactly insulted by this. This is great.
Right.
I
Do
mean,
you think speed of light would be a compliment?
no, that would be just too mundane.
Too mundane?
Speed of, yeah, that's so yesterday. Speed of light.
Oh wow.
Speed of sound is better. Speed of sound has a long history, and I think I've told the story before, but it has to do with a song called "Speed of Sound of Loneliness" by a wonderful band called A3, and by written originally by a wonderful person called John Prine. All of which are still with us, I think. But if you like techno music or really good kind of like semi southern rock music, A3 is a good band, and they're funny. They have some funny stuff. So, but anyway, Denton takes the fine tuning arguments to a whole new level. He goes and explains how even chemicals are fine tuned. Apparently, he shows how many chemical elements themselves and their properties are delicately fine tuned for life. Yes, we are alive, and we wouldn't be if that shit wasn't tuned the way it was. So anyway, he's got a new book, Miracle of Cell, and it's going to be a lot like Otangelo's stuff, I'm guessing.
Well, so. I would say you need to reverse it. That you need to say that chemicals are not designed for us. We're designed from chemicals.
Yes. Yeah, the interesting thing, I've been reading a book by somebody. Let me see, where is he? Oh my God, I lost the book. Deleuze on information and the cell. It's about information in biology. It was written in 2012, and he's got some really interesting ideas, and he explains information. And the interesting thing is he explains that living systems like ourselves, you know, human beings, we have communication, and you know, we have a system of communication. He defines that, and then he talks about what information is when you communicate. It's something that you communicate, and he explains how that also works at the cellular level in a number of different systems, but they've got it backwards. The life creates information. It creates information and intelligence. Intelligence does not create life. It's backwards. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is when you listen to Deleuze talk about it, you get this intuitive sense of how life itself defines intelligence. Oh, hyena number 3. I don't know who that is. This will be a life itself. Oh, somebody's echoing. So somebody has their audio on. So which one is hyena number 3? I didn't number you guys.
I can't see the person here. The comment is blocking it.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, but he doesn't have a picture, so Anyway, let's see. Ian, there is no Minnesota accent. It takes place in Texas. But anyway, that's where Frances McDormand came into the Coen brothers, and I think she ended up marrying one of them. But that was her first role for them. And Blood Simple is a movie that the Coen brothers made before they were famous, and nobody watched it. So it's not a well-known movie. So
Oh, fuck Luke.
I could not have possibly watched a whole movie. A thumbnail had him in tears. No, I think he was. I don't know. I think he watched a whole movie. I did. Don't know. What else we got here? The ending is better. Shows her rejecting. Oh, okay. That's that old news movie again. Speed in his damn comments. What did I say? What? Oh, wait a minute. Scott Duke, is that you? Are you hyena number 3?
Yeah, I was hyena number 3, but since I created confusion, I changed it back.
Well, you could have just told us which hyena you are. We can start to number the hyenas. Demonic hyenas. What do you think of my icon? Did you see the picture of the hyena I put up?
It looked kind of like a chimera of a hyena and a snake, from what I can tell. Yeah, it looked like a hyena with a cat tail.
Let me take a look at it. Where's that hyena? There's that hyena.
With a cat tail.
I like it. Oh, yeah, it has some kind of a tail. I don't know. Well, it has like a dinosaur tail on it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a great picture. Did Nathan do that one?
No, actually, I stole it off Google search.
Okay,
I haven't gotten in trouble for that so far using them as icons, though it might happen. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's a good choice.
Oh yeah, he's wonderful. That is a demonic hyena.
Scorpion tail.
Yeah, scorpion tail. Yep. Well, what do you expect
we could all order leather jackets
with this picture on it.
And Creep of Hyenas or Demonic Hyenas or something.
Yeah. Creep of Sound of Depravity and his band of demonic hyenas. Nicholas
I was going to put hyena number 1 under my name or for my name, but I thought, that would have to be Speed. But then I didn't want to be too pushy, so I just put myself 3. I'm a humble guy.
You're a good man.
A humble hyena.
You're a good man. Anyway. Yep. So anyway, I was saying that this Duluth, he gives you an intuitive idea that the intelligence and the information, like our communication and our language, is built into the very structure of the very first cells. Primordial life started doing this communication early on, and it just kept getting more and more complex until we popped out. So It's really kind of cool to think about it that way. So I don't know.
I don't know if you have a good analogy for that. Like
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of something to represent emergence, because isn't that an emergent quality basically? Like coming from separate subcomponents?
Well, I've never been fond of emergence, as it applies to philosophy of mind or anything like that. So I don't know, but yeah, things emerge at different levels. There's something about multiple hierarchical levels in life where they feed back from every level, feeds back to every other level.
Right. So
it's that kind of a thing. And that sort of makes emergence happen. But emergence is only a property when you're looking at it from above, from my God's eye view. You're looking at it and you're thinking about it and you say, oh, something emerges. I see something emerging. But when you look at the entire system itself, it is so intricately interwoven that you can't say that any one part emerges over another. So
kind of like a woven basket, basically.
Yes. Yeah, except it's dynamic. It keeps feeding back into itself. It's called autopoiesis. It's AUTOPOIESIS. I'll put it in chat. Anyway, it relates to a whole group of people that have a theory of consciousness called the embodied mind. And it's the stuff that I did before I started doing genetics, was trying to crack into consciousness and trying to get a good model for what it is. Okay, and I ended up I've had a lot of luck with that, and I think I pretty much figured it. For myself, intuitively, I know what consciousness is. I know how the mind works. I know how thoughts work. I know what I am biologically. So I've I've got to start talking about it at some point and trying to put it together. Because when I start talking about it in the middle, nobody understands what the hell I'm saying. So, oh shit, I spelled that wrong. I cannot type. Auto poi. I think it's poi e sis, like that. Okay, so where the hell's Immutable? Delayed to Immutable. He's probably out walking.
Walking
He knows
where?
He knows I'm streaming. I think Leo takes him for a walk every day. I don't know whose turn it is to watch him today, but he's always telling us that I'm out walking, I can't join. So yeah, that's auto penis, Ian. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for raising the bar. That's you didn't. Oh, I didn't. Oh shit, that's right. You don't have a phone? I did. I didn't send out a link. I will send it out. Hang on a second. I got to send it to you an email. I forgot.
We got a good group going here.
Yeah, just an afternoon. What the hell day is it? Does anybody know what day it is?
I think it's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday because that's when Matt Delahunty comes in on the Hang Up or whatever it's called now.
Oh, he's on every Wednesday?
Yeah, he does a weekly show on Jimmy Snow's network, whatever he called it.
Okay, what time is that?
I think it's at 6, actually. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, I sent you a link, Leo. Thursday. Yeah, Ian thinks it's Thursday. So, hi, Iron Carrot here. I heard you got tossed off Smokey's channel. I tried to catch your comments before he deleted them all, but I don't know why he has such a problem with you. He doesn't throw me off. I went over and called him stinks and, gave him a little brotherly love a little earlier. He was replaying his debate with Erica. I think it'll probably be the last debate he ever has with anybody that gives a shit about science at all. Because he really doesn't know anything. So, Speed of Sound of Depravity. We gotta get that down.
Yeah.
Ignorance. So this whole thing is heating up with Otangelo sending ribosomal information out, and he's doing a live stream in about an hour, I think. Did you guys get the message on that?
I don't go on those channels.
Okay, but he's doing a comeback at Demeter again. He's still mad at Demeter because Demeter basically told him this is bullshit.
Did you see the email I sent to the chain? Because Nicholas pretty much said, no, Demeter, you're wrong, and all this science proves it, but didn't cite anything. And I'm just like, to summarize what I said, I was just like, you guys need to stop touting your complete and utter ignorance on this subject as if it's somehow equal to somebody else's legitimate formal education on it, because they're not equal, and all you're doing every time you do this is demonstrate just how little you actually know about the subject.
Oh, I just saw it now. So Nicholas says, don't mind my huge typos.
Well,
Sorry,
you gotta read the one that he did before that.
Oh, okay. To Joel and everybody else, Dimitri, it's not possible for chemicals to form into primitive translation. What? The scientific data. Oh, we gotta put this on the screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's it's atrocious.
Let me work on it. Where are we here? Where's the Otangelo argument? Okay, God, this is so. The Otangelo arguments are so disorganized. It's hard to find them all.
Yeah, I will be here until about 6 o'clock because I'm going to be jumping in Knock's stream.
Oh, Otangelo's having one too. What's Knock doing?
It's just open mic.
Oh,
which one's Knock?
Nakatsuchi, the Raging Atheist, or the Rage.
Okay, yeah. I've recently subscribed to him or his channel. It says here that the hang up is in 103 minutes.
Okay. And then Otangelo's having a thing that I'm going to have to check out, and God knows who else. So Let's see if
apparently Sokka count wants to talk to me about something in Nox stream that I said on Twitter. If it's about the Steve McRae, I'm just going to tell him, if you can say whatever you want, but it's going to fall on deaf ears because I don't really care about somebody else's YouTube drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chrome tab, Tangelo orgs, Google Doc. We're going to have to make that bigger, aren't we?
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
can't read it.
What the hell is that? Citations. I'm working on it. We'll go 200%. Does that work?
There we go. Why do they keep calling him Dimitri? His name is Demeter.
I know, baby.
What is it with these guys and not being able to fucking pronounce names properly?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
But sometimes they come up with a gem like Speed of Sound of Depravity. Or whatever. Or no, what? Creep of Sound of Depravity. I mean, sometimes you gotta hand to them. Okay, so here it is. Can everybody read that? It's not possible that for chemicals to form into primitive translation. I'm sorry, but that's nonsense. Scientific data insists this. Oh yeah, it does. Where all the fucking papers that Demeter provided talk about the evolution of the ribosome. And well, not only Demeter, but the ones that Otangelo provided were about the evolution of the ribosome. Does he have some? Oh yeah, he has some real interesting points. He makes a fool of himself. Anyway, your response was really a bunch of grabbing at nothing. Use the fact when you meant conjecture. Quest for evolution. Why abiogenesis is not possible. So we know there is a creator God. You color everything through your quest, I guess. Oh, and they don't? He knows there's a creator God?
To that point, the thing about their whole argument that this requires some form of intelligent designer, the absolute furthest that could ever get you is that life here on Earth was designed by some other extraterrestrial race. It, by no even stretch of the imagination, can it get you to a quote-unquote creator God. So at best, they could argue that, well, life on Earth was created by some intelligent species that came here and created it, but it's not a God. If you want to call them God, go ahead. But
on another screen, I have papers that Demeter suggested, some that were connected, and some from Otangelo. And so I've got about 12 papers on my screen, all talking about ribosomal evolution. And the interesting thing about it is that you can see a phylogeny on some of those. Some of the papers have the phylogeny. And what that shows is, okay, so if God started out at a real simple level with a particular ribosomal protein or structure, okay, and then he erased a couple of pieces and changed them and mutated them and then used them in two other ones, and then two branches off of that, made some other changes, and all the way up to humans, between like yeast and humans, he kept making changes. Why does it form a phylogeny? That is the point. Oh, hyena number 3 has disappeared and came back. Are you, well, Immutable's got to be a hyena number 1 because he was the first one to come here, so.
Oh, well, I just clicked on something I shouldn't have and got knocked out, so I decided to add hyena status.
Oh, are we changing our display names?
No, no, that'll get too. Can you imagine me remembering which number y'all are? Not gonna happen.
Who said I was gonna change mine to a number?
Well, hyena number. Hyena number. Whoops! Somebody calling me. Inopportune. Anyway, let's see. I don't know. I want to be a hyena too.
You know, I don't see Otangelo doing a lot of experimenting himself.
The thing with all of the, and you know what? Here, how about I just read it for you guys? The response to this message from Nicholas, and sort of a response to all of them. Let's go into my Gmail, see if I can.
Yes, you're very good at that.
So this is what I said. This is all I'm going to say, and then I'm going to attempt to remove myself from this Gmail thread. I couldn't figure out a way to do that. The fact that you creationists with no degrees in any fields relevant to evolutionary science, molecular biology, or biochemistry, and certainly no experience in researching or publishing in any of those fields, think that you have the capability to dismiss or dismantle what a literal PhD molecular biologist and active origins of life researcher who has published and researched in the field for quite some time has explained to you an innumerable amount of times is laughably dishonest and condescendingly arrogant. Literally none of you are even remotely qualified to address what Demeter said. You simply dismiss what he says without even understanding it because you don't, because you're more concerned with protecting a preconceived belief than actually arriving at the truth of the matter. It's cognitive dissonance on an astoundingly impenetrable and glaringly obvious level. This is why you guys are laughed at by myself, Speed, Immutable, Aaron, et al., because you're fucking ignorant of everything you talk about, and it's quite plain to see for anybody who is, in fact, educated in the subject. Perhaps you guys should close the Bible and open up an actual textbook, which we all know you'll never do because you're scared of actually learning anything, because you know you'll end up arriving at reasonable conclusions which vitiate every aspect of your idiotic, uninformed, and entirely baseless worldview.
Yes, well put. And just a walking fish, you are a hyena. I mean, you're not a trash clown.
He's not. He's a walking fish.
He's a walking hyena.
He's a walking fish hyena.
Yeah, he's definitely a hyena. Come on now. He's been cast aside by Smokey so many times. We are going to let him have the status that he so deserves. Anyway.
He's a walking fishapod.
And Nicholas Witless Meyer. Well, I've got some names for Nicholas. I crafted a few myself.
I think I might start calling him Nicholas.
He's kind of scary.
Or Bitcheless, I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, I just did a short stream to show that. You guys all saw the clip, right? Or they're late arrivers. I want to say it again. It wasn't much. It was just him saying they're so vile. He's not going to associate with these two camps anymore. One of them is praises. What did he call them? Praises groupies or something? I'm not sure.
I said this in Jefferson Spatch. Almost said Jeffrey. Jefferson Spatchcott's stream that he did last night. Is it me, or does praise sound like a therapist who himself needs therapy? Because he does.
Yeah, he does kind of try to sound like he does sound like he needs therapy. That's for goddamn sure. Oh, shit, I lost him. What did I do with it? Snata notes. I have Snata notes. What
so you just said, or you've been saying earlier that Demeter wrote a paper, and so I guess he's a research biologist or something.
I think he's written more than one paper, but first things first. Yeah, he's written
more than that.
Papers. Yeah, he's written numerous papers. It directly, like technical literature directly relating to the field. He's a PhD molecular biologist, so he actually knows what the fuck he's talking about. He has the credentials to show it. He's also an origins of life researcher, and he's actively done research. He's been in research labs. Literally none of these guys have ever done any of that. They have no degrees, and if they have degrees, they're most certainly not relevant to this field. They've never published any technical literature on this, and I can tell you that none of them has probably ever stepped foot in any type of laboratory, let alone a laboratory working on molecular biology, biochemistry, evolutionary science, or origins of life. These people are the definition of uninformed idiots commenting on something they have no understanding of.
Yeah.
Well, because if they put out ideas out there, then they're going to get trashed basically by the scientific process.
Yes, and that's the thing. If you're so certain that you've somehow blown evolution up and that, you've proven that abiogenesis is just impossible, why aren't you publishing your work? Why aren't you going to the National Academy of Sciences and discussing with them? Why aren't you going to all of the councils and conferences where all of the actual professionals are at? Because you know that if you did this, you would be laughed off the campus.
Right.
That's why you're starting an obscure channel on YouTube, bitching and complaining about this stuff instead of actually trying to publish your work, because you know you can't. Simple as that.
One person I looked at said that that these creationists saying it's unfair that their data isn't getting published or something like that. But like, I think his response was like, I think it's more unfair that you're getting attention, or you're saying it's unfair despite the fact that you're not going through the scrutinous process that everyone else is going through. I mean, like, that's unfair that you're claiming it to be true and you haven't gone through the same scrutiny as the other models that are part of scientific literature. I mean, I feel like that's just wrong.
But that's exactly what it is. Because apparently there have been some of them, like Raw Matt, I think, that have tried to like actually publish stuff, and any reputable publication isn't even going to take their papers because they already know. Anybody who actually understands the field already knows the information that thoroughly refutes whatever it is they're trying to claim to begin with.
Right. Exactly.
Their beliefs, because that's what they are, is just beliefs, are just based on a complete and utter misunderstanding of the subject at hand.
Yeah.
Right.
So Scott, you asked about Demeter. He's PhD, I think, genetics or molecular biology or both, and he does cancer research. His specialty is DNA replication, and he's going to work on stem cells next. And he has written other papers, but he wrote 3 papers on abiogenesis, and he has a hypothesis that he created with another gentleman, Gasparov, I think, or something, and he. It's sort of a new hypothesis that gets down into the nitty-gritty of the very, very early mRNAs, and nobody seems to want to listen in enough detail to understand it. I'm doing my second reading of his papers and going through in detail. So we're hoping to explain the whole theory, and I'm hoping to actually come up with a few simple models. What's that?
See, that's the thing. These guys don't listen to understand this stuff. They listen to try to respond and just say, well, no, you're wrong.
So when you say nobody listens to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add to that these guys don't care about being right or wrong. They just don't at all, and they never did. They only care about finding whatever they can and cherry picking, equivocating, and doing every other fallacy that they can think of to try to rationalize their belief into the framework of science when it will never fit into that framework because it literally is not science.
Well, I think that's one of the differences between science and religion, isn't it? Like, religion, for the most part, and I'm not saying they're incompatible, because I do know there are people who would argue that they are compatible, but like, religion typically is knowledge from authority or something to do with authority, right? Like, science isn't at all like that. So if you want to mix those two together, it's not going to mix very well.
Exactly.
But as far as his actual peers and colleagues, his papers have been well received. It's just the creationist community that doesn't want to read them.
We got a couple new words today.
The problem is they know, and I kind of touched on this in my response in the email, is that they all know that if they truly and honestly educate themselves on this subject, they'll have to abandon their belief system because they'll see why it's wrong. This is a willful ignorance. It's, I don't want to learn the truth because then I'll have to admit that what I currently believe is wrong. Because I'll actually understand why it's wrong. I would rather not understand why I'm wrong so that I can continue to push the lie that I'm right than actually understand the subject that I claim that I understand.
Have you guys or do you think that's related to the backfire effect by any chance?
What is the backfire effect?
Yeah, explain it for the listeners.
So from what I understand, the backfire effect is basically our brain likes to conserve mental energy. So it likes to put this neat, tidy house together of dispositions or beliefs. And when challenging beliefs or evidence comes along, our brain doesn't like to
Think.
Well,
yeah,
that's just cognitive dissonance.
right. But like that's why I'm saying, do you think what they're doing has any
Yes, it has
relation?
everything to do with cognitive dissonance.
Okay. Yeah, that's just what I was asking.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's just cognitive dissonance. They would rather protect what they already believe than learn anything.
You know, it's kind of a.
We
It's,
see
it's,
that in Trumpists all the time.
I think what that backfire effect is just a normal human thing, but it's amplified by the religious aspect of it because it kind of sets up these little brain tricks. You can read it like in the writings of Paul everywhere. Anybody who doesn't teach what I teach is of the devil. And so it's like a double effect. Not only are they resistant to hearing and processing the information, it's like if this goes against my worldview, then it's of the devil.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
that's what the Bible says.
These are people that have already convinced themselves they're right to the point that they will, and that's what cognitive dissonance is: the delegitimization, derationalization, or outright rejection of any conflicting evidence that conflicts with your worldview, regardless of how accurate and true it happens to be.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about how belief works, and you can break it down with a little bit of common sense. When you need to do something, you need very, very little in the way of evidence or belief in order to, like, go to the refrigerator and know that you have a ham in there, that sort of thing. And you end up with something called somatic markers, and they're connected to your limbic system, which is your emotional system, and they very, very quickly make decisions for you, because if a bear is chasing you through the fucking woods, you need to believe very quickly that this is happening. And you don't really need to know. You don't even need to know it's a bear. You just need something really big and dangerous seems to be happening. You need to get the hell out of there. So it's so that's what you're talking about, Andrew.
And I think Aaron Ross even mentioned that about people believing in stuff that isn't there and attributing it to something that we would consider that is some anthropomorphized thing. Is that, well, if our ancestors back when they were in the plains, if they saw the grass move, yeah, sure, that could just be the wind. And if it is just the wind, you'll be fine. But what if it's not the wind? Even if it actually is the wind, if you believe that it's a tiger, your chances of survival are higher, because if it actually happens to be a tiger and you don't do anything, then you're fucking dead. But if you think that it's a tiger and you get out of there, your chances of survival are increased, even if there was never actually a tiger and it was the wind.
And going back to something was mentioned earlier, I feel like science in general is sort of the middle ground between questioning authority and not questioning authority. Like of course, at some point you're going to have to believe someone. Like you couldn't get anything done if you didn't accept that the plumber knew what he was doing to whatever he was doing, basically. Like, you need to accept authority at some level, but also question it at others. And I don't think that's what the creationists are doing.
Exactly. They just, I don't even know how to describe it anymore, honestly.
Hey guys, I need to take a minute.
Okay.
And I see Demeter is in the chat. I really hope he's not trying to educate, like, Standing for Truth. I don't even know if Standing for Truth is still in there or not.
I'm not sure. Have we? I feel like we've met before, Leo Phyllis.
I don't know if we have or not.
I don't remember. Well, it's nice to meet you now either way.
Yes, you as well. And I should say the same to Scott. I've seen him in the side chat and everything, but I don't know if I've ever seen him. I don't think I've ever seen him in a live stream yet, or at least not one that I've been in.
I've been too shy or too busy to be able to get into a actual stream.
So, Leo, if I can ask you kind of a philosophical question, see what background you're on.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about the fundamental assumptions of science?
What do you mean?
Like, I guess what do you?
Yeah.
First of all, what do you think they are, and do you think they are valid?
I guess I wouldn't really know what they are. To me, science is just it's more of a method than a worldview or an ideology. It's just a process that we use to figure out what the world does.
Okay.
And so we just
Yeah, that makes
base
sense.
what can we observe? How can we describe this? Do the ways that we can describe what we observe match what we observe? If they do, great, we build from there and we adjust what we need. If they don't, back to the drawing board.
Right. And this is one other thing I want to mention, which was I feel like an actual scientist wants to go out there and in some sense be wrong. Like they want to go out there and actually learn how the world works, whereas in not all religions, because I don't want to generalize here, but like in the creationist worldview, I feel like if you go out there and question how the world works, like you said, you're inevitably going to lead to something evolutionary related. And and who knows, evolution may not be the absolute answer to the question, but like I feel like it's the current best answer we have. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's the thing about science, is that everything that we know about evolutionary theory comports very, very, very closely with what we observe. So if this description, because all evolutionary theory is saying, hey, this is telling us what we observe. This is a description of what we observe. This description thoroughly explains what it is that we're observing. So if evolutionary theory was wrong, why, number one, why does it describe very, very accurately what we observe? Why does it make predictions that are then confirmed? And why can we use it to make future predictions that we can then test and have tested and have confirmed? So for me, somebody who wants to deny evolutionary theory would also have to deny special relativity, general relativity, quantum mechanics, atomic theory, the germ theory of disease, tectonic plate theory, pretty much everything else that science has ever done, because it does exactly the same thing that evolutionary theory does. And it is based on the same principles that evolutionary theory is based on.
It all
why don't they deny those?
I mean, it's all woven together so intricately that there's the this bullshit of finding little bumps here and there and saying, "Oh, look at this little bump."
And there are bumps still in evolutionary theory, but they're not. This is the thing. People think that, oh well, you know, the evolutionary theory's got this problem. That's great. That means that there's a problem, that we as humans obviously don't yet know everything, and we still have stuff to learn. Why would anybody deny that? By the way, I did see that William Lane Craig is just a fucking character. Shit, what was I going on about? Oh, Asperger's can sometimes be a pain in the fucking ass.
Actually, it's just your brain. It's human brain does that.
It's the Asperger's.
Human brain is not a machine.
Yeah, well, the Asperger's is a defect of my human brain.
It's what makes you special, Leo.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, like, I actually asked someone about this, but like, it is kind of scary to imagine that anything you know today might be wrong in the sense, but like, I think I can take comfort in the idea that anything I know today, like in terms of like major framework theories, any theories we know today are right but also wrong. They're incomplete. So it's not, I think a better way of visualizing is not that, oh, you have a set of building blocks that are the theories, and you throw some new evidence at it and it comes crashing down. Like, I mean, sometimes that might happen, but like for the most part, it's finding a deeper, I guess, sense of reality. It's like digging deeper into truth, basically.
Well, these people are lazy.
Incomplete.
They're lazy assholes. There is a way for them to prove their point, and that is, if you saw my puzzle analogy, that is to find the perfectly spherical puzzle piece that doesn't have any way to interlock with anything else. And if they were to find that and prove that, they would get a Nobel Prize for it, and they would prove their God. But they don't ever go looking for that. All they do, they take our science and redisplay it and say, Oh gosh, gallop. They just gosh gallop away. It's like,
Gosh
oh gosh,
gallop?
oh gosh. Yeah, it's a new word that
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see
Nestle
what
came
you did
up with
there.
today.
Yeah, I see
Nestle
what you
came up
did.
with two things today: the Otangelo Tango and the gosh gallop. But gosh gallop was actually a typo. But I'm like, holy shit, that's brilliant. So I
And
don't
I
think.
remembered what I was saying is that because there might be parts of a theoretical framework that are incomplete does not mean the whole theoretical framework is wrong. So, for instance, with general relativity, we have absolutely no clue how to describe that at the quantum mechanical level. That doesn't mean quantum mechanics is wrong, and it doesn't mean general relativity is wrong. It means they're both incomplete.
Right, that's what I'm
Incomplete
saying.
does not mean wrong. And there are some things that we know will never, ever, 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 ever be wrong, like the fact that this mouse is made of atoms. We might, in a million years, increase our understanding of what an atom is, how they interact with each other, and how they work. But in a million years, it will still be true that this mouse is made of atoms.
Right. I think it's like I said, finding a deeper level of reality that we didn't know before. Where it's like it's not beyond absolute doubt, it's beyond reasonable doubt. So like if you were to find reasonable evidence, then we would have reason to doubt it, but we don't have reason to doubt it. So it's true beyond reasonable doubt is what I would say.
Another really good example of what I was saying is the difference between Newtonian mechanics and Einsteinian mechanics or relativistic mechanics. Newtonian mechanics is not wrong. We use that all the time. We used it to send people to the moon, and we still use it to send people into space. It's just not the full picture. It's like a puzzle. It's about a third, maybe half of the puzzle, but it's not the whole thing. Because you found the rest of the puzzle does not mean the other part of the puzzle is somehow wrong. You still need that to complete the puzzle. It's the same thing. Just because you don't have all the pieces doesn't mean the whole puzzle gets pushed off the table. It means there's still pieces you need to look for to get the complete picture. And I think that this is something that most creationists don't understand. And I think that this comes from just the complete and utter illiteracy of what science is. They view science as a worldview or an ideology, and it is neither of the two and never has been. Scientism is, which is something completely different. But science or methodological empiricism is exactly that. It is a method. It is a methodology. It is a process that we use, and that's it.
So are there any non-fundamentalist, conservative, creationist Christians that believe in scientism, would say, oh yeah, scientism
No,
is my
absolutely not.
Okay.
Scientism is essentially the worldview that literally everything can be used or explained utilizing only methodological empiricism or the scientific method, which I personally would say is not necessarily true at all.
And that is my view. I'm a scientist. I adhere to that totally. Everything can be explained with science. There's nothing outside of that realm at all. In principle. Some things you have to have a pretty big computer for.
In a principled way, I might be able to agree with it in the sense that science is a methodology, and any methodology that teaches you about the way reality is could be called a science. So I feel like that's more where you're coming from. But in terms of what most people mean, as in that everything can be explained utilizing strictly the physical sciences, we already know that's not true.
Yeah.
But in the sense that any method that can give us accurate information about reality could be considered a science, and therefore science can tell us about literally anything. In principle, I don't necessarily think that that's untrue.
Right.
But there would be a lot more there that would have to be parsed out, and I am not a philosopher.
Well, I
would have to get a hold of that icky, nasty, disgusting, terrible individual, Steve McRae, and have a discussion with him on it. Because the guy, whether you like him or hate him, the guy knows his shit when it comes to science and philosophy. I don't care what anybody says.
I'd probably fight with Steve on that.
And there's also a lot of other people that I would like to get a hold of and just have a discussion about that. Landon Kirtnell is one. Alex Malpass is another. Who's the other one? Shit. Graham Oppie is another one I'd like to have a discussion with about that.
What the hell's his name? Oh shit.
I will be there, Demeter. Hopefully,
the third
Speed gives me the link to the chat, just because there might be some questions I have for both him and Aaron along the way. And I think it should be me or you, Speed, Demeter, Arn Ra, me, and Immutable. Those 5, that's it.
Yeah, we don't want to overwhelm Arn.
Because I'm not going to do much talking, but I would really like to be there because when Demeter comes in and talk, I actually try to listen to him because I understand more about like biochemistry and genetics and stuff than I do evolutionary theory. So I'm really hoping that Aaron kind of goes more into phylogeny and stuff.
Hey.
But I always try to learn. So I like to be able to ask questions directly.
Pagan Mom, agnostic Pagan Mom is here. And I think, I don't know if I ever...
I took another philosophical side route, didn't I, Speed?
What's that?
I said I took another philosophy side route, didn't I?
Oh, that's fine. I like it. Philosophy is actually something I've spent a long time studying. Mostly philosophy of the mind.
Well, I've got a question along the philosophical lines. I hear this a lot in discussions between like atheists and Christians or people who believe in some sort of woo, and they will say that there are more ways of knowing than science. And what always trips me up is I can't think of another legitimate way of knowing that isn't just religion and people thinking that the Holy Spirit's telling them something or what have you. So I will put this question to the panel.
Mathematics. Which is not science. Science uses math, but math and science are not the same thing. You could also
argue it's a way of knowing. Like you can know abstract concepts.
Science doesn't prove things. Mathematics does.
Right. Yeah, I would say science isn't the only way of knowing things, because there would be other people who would argue with me on that. Yeah. But like,
I would say it's the most accurate way.
Yeah, I would say it's the best way we have so far for gathering knowledge.
So would I. And I would say that that's partly because almost everything in science, to some degree, uses mathematics and logic, and those are the only 2 things in which you can actually prove something in. And see, science disproves things, but it doesn't prove them.
Well, when you get down to the problem is in what you said is the phrase "to know things," right, or to know something. And like to know how the color red feels, or to know how a piece of art affects me, that sort of thing. It would be ridiculous to use science to do that, but you could, given a big enough computer, figure that out, right?
Yes.
But I mean, it's not.
Well, you got to remember, everybody says, well, you can't know what a color feels like. Actually, technically, you can.
Well, yeah, but
colors are electromagnetic radiation. And people don't realize that if I turn on a flashlight and aim it at you, those photons are actually emitting a force on you. Theoretically speaking, if you could build a powerful enough flashlight, you could push objects with it. We actually do this. They're called solar sails.
Huh.
Yeah, but like the best way for me to know where my car is in the garage is to open the garage door. Mm-hmm. So I mean, when you ask what is the best way to know something, that's a whole different thing. Usually the best way to know anything is intuitively, because most of the things that we need to know,
I would agree to that to a level. But there is a level where intuition straightforwardly doesn't work, like quantum mechanics.
But you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes, I do.
I think, like you said, Speed, that different forms of knowledge apply to different situations. It depends on the situation you're looking at.
Yeah. The best way to know something is a little different than the best way to know everything about something. Yes, the best way to know everything about something is with science. So
right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what, other ways of knowing legitimately are. Of course, I can't. Even saying that your faith is a way of knowing doesn't really say much, because when you ask them, well, how does that feel? What are you experiencing? It sounds like things that I can experience, as an atheist. So there's some room there to kind of doubt what somebody else is experiencing as legitimate knowledge. But so I don't know. I'm just trying to think in terms of.
You see, the problem with that the whole faith thing, when you feel faith, or you feel God's presence, or whatever it is, I know exactly what that feels like, because I've spent my entire life developing that feeling. But it's a fucking feeling. when you start to rationalize why you feel it, that is where the bullshit comes in, and that's where faith becomes belief, right? I mean, it's a fucking feeling. Everybody has it to some degree. Everybody, like when they talk about the Holy Spirit came into you, we've all felt it when we sat and stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon or looked at the sky, or we've had a particular moment in a movie. I mean, those feelings are what they confuse with some sort of message from their sky fairy, and that drives me crazy, because the thing is, if you believe that you have to believe in some kind of God shit in order to get that feeling, then a lot of us are going to miss out on those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But you can develop. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got something. It's a little off topic. It's from Jim Majors on Twitter. It's really fucking funny. Pessimists see the glass as half empty. Optimists see the glass as half full. Apologists see the glass as evidence of the resurrection.
What was that last part again?
Apologists see the glass as evidence of the resurrection. Oh, fuck. That's why I like Jim. That guy just cracks me the fuck up.
Oh, shit. Proving that we'll let anybody in here. We have one of the demonic hyenas has just entered the room.
Oh, man. Already. All I did was respond to Joel's comment.
Hey, made a ball.
Oh, good old Joel. The guy who fervently refuses to have any sort of discussion with me.
I'm going to let you guys handle it for a minute. I'm stepping out. So
Of course.
I'm going to pull a praise. Go take a fucking shower or something, or I don't know, whatever.
Don't pull an LPP and pass out on us now.
I got a delivery. I'm going to get it.
Don't do it. It's the raccoons. He's going to get kidnapped by those raccoons.
Should I pose another question for the panel here? Or
you can if you want, yeah.
Okay. So I think I already know your thoughts on this, Immutable, but I haven't seen your thoughts, Scott or Leo. How do you guys feel about the relevance of development and evolution?
I don't think I know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, it's a consequence of genetics, really. I mean, from what I understand, it's mostly just it's a different activation of gene families to create new body plans, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Leo, have you heard of Hox genes?
I have. I have no fucking clue what they are.
Okay, so
I've tried to find a definition. I have never found one that's not overly technical.
Okay. I guess you can think of the family of genes that Hox genes are a part of in a simple way as they're kind of another type of protein coding gene, but the proteins that they code for specifically go over and bind to specific regions of the DNA next to other genes. So you often hear the phrase they turn on and off other genes, basically the proteins they code for when they bind to specific sequences of the DNA. So it's basically a cascade of effects going down the line. You have this gene regulating this gene, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, essentially, it's the way of it's micromanagement for DNA. Hox genes are that once they produce their protein, they influence either upregulate or downregulate other proteins or other loci that are close to them, or sometimes far away.
Yeah.
Speaking of Iron Charioteer, I'm surprised Speed hasn't had PZ Myers on here yet. Which I don't know how much he does with YouTube and stuff like that. Because I know the guy's fucking busy as shit. So.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
It's getting R and Raw. That's good. I just like R and Raw because, dude, the thing I like about him is he is gonna call a spade, and he's no nonsense. Like, he's no bullshit. If you said something that's wrong, he's gonna tell you, no, shut the fuck up. That's wrong, and this is why. Correct yourself, or I'm gonna continue to interrupt you and correct you because you won't correct yourself. And I'm the same way. Like, I might let it slide a few times, but after a while, I'm going to be like, okay, dude, I've corrected you on this such and such times. Now either correct yourself or admit that you're you either A, are too dishonest to because you don't want to admit that you're wrong, or that you're too ignorant to understand what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, where did Mutable go?
I don't know. He was. It sounded like he was walking or riding a bike, or maybe he was being thrown off the rear end of a train because all I heard was wind in his voice, like 50 fucking feet away.
Oh well. I guess we shouldn't bother him at this point. What was I saying?
Well, when Speed comes back, if he's backstage, he'll pop him back in.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, I always bring up development because I don't know, I just find it fascinating because, like, the professors I've talked to over the last months, basically, not all of them, but some of them have agreed that in certain situations, like it's a very controversial area because some say, for instance, that the importance of changes to regulatory pathways is more important than changes to the protein itself.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other I guess people I've talked to have said that it may or may not be as important, but they kind of both contribute. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a spectrum. It's still kind of controversial at this point. Not controversial. There's not a consensus, I guess I should say.
Yeah. What are you in school for anything? What are you in school for if you are?
I'm basically a high school student right now. Let's see. I'm in my senior year right now, so I'm taking AP Bio, but I just like to study this stuff on my free time.
Yeah. I
find it fascinating.
Yeah, I'm learning more about this field. I'm more physics, astrophysics, cosmology, and quantum mechanics.
Oh, cool. I guess how do you feel about the situation with the Big Bang and time zero, if I may ask?
I don't really have comments on that because the furthest back that we can go definitive and have some level, at least within the framework of science, definitive knowledge is 10 to the negative 13th seconds after the Big Bang. We've got pretty good speculation. I mean, albeit speculation, it's still pretty damn accurate about what happens from that point all the way back to about 10 to the negative 43rd seconds, which is just some decay processes resulting in the splitting of the fundamental forces. Inflation happens. I would argue that there is no t equals 0 because I would argue that there is an absolute smallest unit of time. And that if that is the Planck time, 10 to the negative 43rd seconds, then the earliest moment in the universe's history would be t equals 10 to the negative 43rd seconds. What I think is that given that there are absolute smallest scales for both space and time, and a maximum limit for the energy in the universe would be 10 to the 32nd degrees Kelvin, which at that point physics just stops working. That you could not add any more energy to the universe than that. We already know that there's a lowest you can go, absolute 0. We know there's a highest you can go, Planck temperature. So like absolute 0 would be 0 degrees Planck. The Planck temperature, 10 to the 32nd degrees Kelvin, would be 1 degree Planck. So every other temperature in between there is in between 0 and 1. So I would argue that for me, that this is what I think is that space-time goes down to the smallest possible unit volume, which would be 10 to the negative 99th meters cubed, or the Planck volume. It occupies the Planck time, 10 to the negative 43rd seconds, and is at the Planck temperature, 10 to the 32nd degrees Kelvin. And it is at that state, all fundamental forces combine into one force, the inflaton force, one field, the inflaton field, with one particle, the inflaton particle, or the inflaton. And that at this moment, it just starts to decay. The fundamental forces split, the inflatons decay into the typical baryonic matter particles that we see, and inflation takes off because that produces the decay of that field, produces a very, very, very repulsive force that drives space-time apart. So to me, you could go back so far, and then at that point, there's literally, it is not physically possible to go back any further, and that's that. But we don't really know. That's just speculation.
Right. Like But you would say that there is a boundary to time going so far back into the past.
I would say that there is, but there might not be.
Right. Like no one knows for sure.
Yeah. I would say that most of the cosmologists would probably say the same.
Right. Yeah. I personally I'm a fan of inflation theory as well. I think I kind of like the and since it's all speculation at this point, I'm just gonna choose the most speculative idea probably out there, which is that inflation kind of went back, if time even makes sense back then, for an infinite amount of time going into the past, or at least just a
Which
very
could be very possible.
Right. Like I just if like I said, since it's all speculation at this point, I feel like it's up for grabs. It's a scientific mystery that we can go out and find it if we build like a particle accelerator the size of the solar system or something ridiculous like that.
Yep. And what I'm thinking is that and this is something that I've heard from Ethan Siegel, who has I think it's a blog called Starts with a Bang. He's also a senior science contributor for Forbes. Something that he didn't say that this is necessarily what he believes. It could be an idea that what may happen is going back into the history of the universe is just we asymptotically approach t = 0, but you never get there if you know what it means to asymptotically approach something.
Right.
Where it continuously approaches 0, but never quite reaches it.
Hey, the rage open boom is live now.
Okay, well, I should probably take off then because
I'm probably going to take off too. So
peace out.
Anyway, this is a phylogenetic tree of the large subunit for the RNAs, and it shows basically that there's evidence of mutations. And I don't know why God would do mutations and put them together in trees, because these mutations really don't matter. And that's the part that the creationists can never explain to us is did God I think his pencil was not sharp when he made these particular ones, and there's some mutations, and then he made everything within a tree. So I mean that is the evidence that they really always pass over and don't want you to talk about. But these mutations, you can see them in trees, and the mutations do not make an improvement or make any difference. They're non-conserved regions. And anyway, that is the case. And then the other thing is when you take something totally unrelated to the ribosome, some other gene, you'll find that it makes the same tree. And that is hard to explain because we have two totally, it's like with radiometric dating, they use multiple sources, right? And so that is almost irrefutable proof that there was no intelligent design, or that it that it evolved through mutation.
Right. Yeah.
CCC. Oh, okay. So where did you go, Mutable? Anyway, so I don't know. I'm going to leave. Scott, any closing thoughts? Anyone? So
I have no closing thoughts. I barely can muster up a regular thought.
An opening thought or an intermediate thought?
Yeah, thoughts just don't come easy, man.
Thoughts are a bitch. Yeah. My thoughts are a lot slower now.
I would just like to. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I would just like to say thanks for having me on, Speed, and I apologize if I took the discussion into a kind of off-topic stuff. But.
No, that's why we love you, because you always take it somewhere good. So anyway. But as far as how hard it is to have thoughts, like I'm just now talking about the thoughts I had 15 years ago. It takes a long time. So like the thoughts I'm having currently, it will take me 15 years to figure out how to get them out of my mouth. So anyway.
Well, you don't want to rush it.
No. And and that means we'll have a lot of content for the next 15 years because it's like a fucking circus up here. So anyway. Okay, good. We'll see you guys. I'm going to go get something to eat. And
all right, gentlemen. I enjoyed it.
Oh, there is an Otangelo thing going on where he's doing this whole ribosome thing, but it I don't know.
Well,
Yep.
good. For
Enter at
him.
your own risk.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go end the broadcast. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for showing up.
See you, Speed.
Yep.
See you, Speed.